There's a moment at every gathering when someone walks up to you and says hello. Your mind goes blank. You smile a little too hard. You hear yourself say, "So, how are you?" And you already know how flat it sounded. That tiny gap between hello and a real conversation is where most people freeze. Not because they're boring. Not because they lack personality. They just never learned the small moves that make small talk feel human. That's exactly what we're fixing today. 7 small talk tricks, none of them awkward, all of them warm. By the end, you'll walk into any room knowing precisely what to say first. And the 7th one is the trick almost nobody uses, even though it changes every conversation. Before we get to that, here's the first shift, and it's the one you can use in the next 5 minutes. Stop trying to be interesting. Start being interested. That single flip removes 90% of the pressure you feel. Because small talk isn't a performance. It's a handshake with words. You're not there to impress. You're there to connect, gently, briefly, in a way that leaves both of you a little warmer. And once you understand that, everything changes. Now let's get into the 7 tricks, and I'll show you exactly how to use each one. The first trick is what I call the friendly opener. It's how you start without sounding like a robot. Most people default to "how are you?" and both of you know it's autopilot. Instead, comment on something you actually notice in the moment. The music, the coffee, the view, the fact that the line is somehow always this long. A simple, "this place is packed today, right?" instantly feels like a real human speaking. You're not being clever. You're being present. That's the difference. And when you comment on something you both can see, the other person doesn't have to think hard to reply. That's the secret rule of small talk. Make it easy for them to answer and they'll like talking to you. The second trick is the question behind the question. This one turns short answers into real conversations. When someone tells you what they do, don't stop at the job title. Ask about the story underneath it. How did you end up in that field? Or what's the part you actually enjoy? Suddenly you're not swapping resumes, you're sharing something real. People rarely get asked about the why behind their life, so when you do, they light up. And here's the small shift that matters. Ask like you're genuinely curious, because you probably are. You don't need clever questions. You need warm ones. Now, here's a quick reframe before we go further, because this one saves a lot of nervous energy. Small talk isn't small. It's the doorway. Every deep friendship, every job offer, every meaningful relationship started with a light, ordinary exchange. So stop dismissing it. Start respecting it. That mindset alone will make you sound calmer and more grounded. Which brings us to the third trick, and this one is a quiet superpower. The third trick is echo and expand. It's how you keep a conversation moving without forcing it. When someone shares something, repeat one small piece of it and add a gentle follow-up. They say, "I just got back from Portugal." You say, "Portugal, that's amazing. What made you pick it?" You're not interrogating. You're showing that you actually heard them. Most people are so busy planning their next line that the other person feels invisible. Echo and expand does the opposite. It says, "I'm here. I caught that. Tell me more." And the other person feels it instantly, even if they can't name why. If you're the quiet one in group settings, this trick is made for you. You don't need to talk a lot. You just need to listen well and respond warmly. Try it once today and watch how quickly the energy of a conversation changes. Now here's something worth pausing on, because a lot of people get this wrong. Charisma in small talk isn't about being loud. It's about being warm. The most magnetic people in the room are almost never the loudest. They're the ones who make each person feel briefly like the only person in the room. You can do that with your eyes, your posture, and one thoughtful follow-up question. That's it. No jokes required. No stories rehearsed. Which sets us up perfectly for the next trick, and this one solves the awkward pause you dread. The fourth trick is the graceful bridge. It's what you do when a topic naturally runs out. Most people panic at silence and blurt something random. That's what creates that classic small talk awkwardness. Instead, use a bridge line, something like, "That reminds me of something," or "Actually, on that note." then pivot to a related thought, a light observation, or a soft question. You're not changing the subject, you're guiding it, like a friendly host walking a guest into the next room. And here's the underrated part. A short, comfortable silence is not a failure. It's often the sign of a real conversation, not a nervous one. You're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to look around and smile. The bridge is only for when the topic has truly run out, not for the tiny, natural pauses in between. Once you stop fearing silence, small talk stops feeling like a treadmill. Now, before we get to trick number 5, a quick reminder if you're still with me. If you've ever walked away from a conversation and thought, why didn't I say something better? You're not alone. Almost everyone feels that, even the people who seem effortless at this. The difference is that they've practiced small moves, exactly like the ones you're learning right now. You're already ahead just by paying attention. Let's keep going. The 5th trick is the specific compliment, and this one is powerful because almost nobody does it well. Most compliments are generic: nice shirt, cool bag. They land, but they don't linger. A specific compliment does. That color really suits you, it's unusual and it works. Or, the way you explained that was so clear, I wish more people did that. Notice the difference. You're not just praising, you're noticing. And being noticed is one of the rarest gifts in modern life. The rule is simple: compliment something the person chose, did, or created, not something they were born with. Their taste, their effort, their idea, their kindness. That's where real connection lives. And keep it short. A long compliment feels heavy. A quick, specific one feels like sunlight. Use this trick once a day and watch how differently people respond to you within a week. Now here's a small mindset shift that ties all of this together, and it's easy to miss. You don't have to be fascinating. You just have to be safe to talk to. Warm eyes and open posture, a real smile and no visible judgment. That combination is rarer than you think. When people feel safe near you, they naturally open up. And when they open up, small talk turns into real talk. Which leads perfectly into the 6th trick, because this one is all about how you make people feel around you. The 6th trick is the confident exit. Yes, exiting well is a small talk skill, and it might be the most underrated one. Most people either linger too long or vanish so abruptly it feels rude. Both create that awkward aftertaste you never want to leave behind. Instead, exit with warmth and clarity. I'm going to go grab a drink, but I really enjoyed talking to you. Or, let me let you mingle, this was such a nice chat. You're closing the loop, not slipping away. That small courtesy makes people remember you fondly. And here's the deeper reason it works. How you end a conversation is often what people remember most about it. A warm exit tells the other person, this mattered, even if it was brief. That's charisma in one tiny gesture, and it costs you nothing. If you felt like small talk drains you, I want you to know you're not alone. Tell me your story in the comments. I read every one. Now let's get to the 7th trick, the one almost nobody uses, even though it quietly changes every conversation you have. The 7th trick is the callback, and once you start using it, people will feel unusually connected to you, and they won't even know why. A callback is when you remember a small detail from an earlier conversation and mention it later. Maybe they told you they were nervous about a presentation. Next time you see them, you ask, how did that presentation go? Maybe they mentioned a favorite coffee shop. Weeks later, you say, I finally tried that place you told me about. That's it. That's the whole move. But the effect is enormous. Because in a world where most people forget what you said 5 minutes ago, being remembered feels like being cared for. You don't need to remember everything, just one thing. One small, specific thread you can pick back up. Write it down after the conversation if you have to. Nobody has to know. The callback turns acquaintances into friends, and friends into people who feel deeply seen by you. And here's the beautiful part. You're not performing. You're paying attention. That's all charisma has ever really been. So let's bring this all together, because these 7 tricks are not tricks in the manipulative sense. They're small acts of kindness dressed up as social skills. The friendly opener says, I see this moment we're both in. The The question behind the question says, I'm curious about the real you. Echo and expand says, I actually heard you. The graceful bridge says, I'll guide us through the quiet moments. The specific compliment says, I noticed something true about you. The confident exit says, this brief moment mattered to me. And the callback says, you stayed with me even after we parted. That's not small talk. That's the beginning of every real connection you'll ever have. You don't need to master all 7 at once. Pick one this week, just one. Try the friendly opener at the coffee shop. Try echo and expand at work. Try the callback the next time you see a familiar face. Small moves, done warmly, done often, quietly rewire how people experience you. And more importantly, they rewire how you experience yourself in a room. You'll stop feeling like an outsider watching the conversation happen. You'll start feeling like someone who belongs in it, because you do. If this helped even a little, go ahead and subscribe so we can keep growing your social confidence together, one small shift at a time. Hit the like button if any of these 7 landed for you. It genuinely helps this channel reach the quiet ones who need it most. And drop a comment telling me which trick you're trying first. I love reading them and I reply when I can. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Go be warm out there. The world has more than enough clever. It could use a little more kind. I'll see you in the next one.